Good evening, everyone, and welcome to session 3 on day 1 of the South Asia Teaching English Online Conference 2025. I'm Soma, a freelance consultant with the British Council in Nepal, and I'll be host of this session today. I hope some of you were able to join our first two sessions today. And in the first session, it was all about panel discussion by Imran. The second session was by Dr. Bimali. And Dr. Bimali from Sri Lanka, she was also able to share some insightful strategies on teaching vocabulary to students with dyslexia. So as we get started, please feel free to write down hi in the chat and let us know where you are joining us from. You can also tell us if you are a teacher or teacher educator. So for your kind information, this session is also being recorded and delivered via Zoom and is also live streamed on British Council's Teaching English Asia Facebook page. So continuing with the theme of inclusive practices, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to this session on visual thinking tips, tools, and techniques for the inclusive classroom. So before I start, you can see that we have 3 sessions lined up for today themed on inclusive practices, and this is our third session by Emily Bryson. So before we enter to our main session today, I just want to give you some reminder about the housekeeping points for the smooth flow of the session today. So I request everybody to use the chat for the comments and Q&A section to ask the questions to our speaker. You'll also find an editable PDF certificate for which the link will be shared at the end. Similarly, the recording of the Facebook is also available on our Teaching English Asia Facebook page. Similarly, the PDF handout are also provided on event webpage. Regarding the safeguarding policies, I respect everyone. I just ask to just be polite and respectful. Please keep the comments focused on the session only. The moderators will be compelled to remove the participants if they try to distract the session or put some politically sensitive or some do promotion of commercial links. So this is all about the housekeeping rules for today. I'm very excited to just welcome the speaker of our evening. So let me welcome Emily Bryson, the speaker of today's evening. Hello, Emily.
Hello, thank you for having me. I feel honored to be here.
So how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's nice and sunny here in Glasgow.
Oh,
And
that's
I just watched
wonderful.
Bimali's session and it was absolutely fantastic. So if you haven't
That's
watched it,
wonderful.
recommend everyone to
Yeah.
watch it.
Very good to know. So I just want our audience to know a brief background about our speaker. So Emily is an experienced ELT professional and author known for her work with the ESOL learners. She has also high experience with visual tools, graphic facilitation, and engaging resources where she empowers educators to deliver inclusive, accessible, and dynamic lesson. Right, Emily?
Yes, that's me.
So, all right. And now, without any further delay, I just want to hand over this platform to Emily. I'll be in the background here for anything. If you need any support or help, I'll be back for the Q&A segment with the audience. So over to you, Emily.
Okay. Okay, let me just share my screen because I'm using Canva Whiteboard. In the chat, is anybody familiar with using Canva Whiteboard? It's my new favorite tool, and I find it absolutely fantastic because it's so interactive. If some of you used Jamboard before, it's like an interactive Jamboard because sadly Jamboard is no longer. Can you see my screen okay, Soma? Can you just double check that I'm sharing it correctly?
Yes, I can see a screen.
Excellent. Thank you very much. But today's session is on visual thinking tips, tools, and techniques for the inclusive classroom. And one of the things that I am known for is my and doodling, and this is my magic pen. So I will be using Canva Whiteboard and drawing on the screen to bring the webinar to life and to give you some ideas of things that you can use in the classroom. You can do this on your own if you've got like a tablet, laptop with drawing capabilities, or you can use a visualizer, like a document camera, that and then a piece of paper, and then share it to your screen if you're doing it online. And of course, you can do it on a whiteboard, a regular whiteboard. Okay, so let's get started. My plan for today is to talk about inclusion and learner needs, visual thinking tools and techniques, and then at the end there will be a question and answer session. So I've got about 40 minutes to cover the first two, and then at the end we'll talk about some questions and answers. And Soma will keep an eye on the questions and answers, because I was looking at Bimali's session earlier and there was a lot of comments and so too much for me to deliver at the same time, too much to process at the same time. So Soma already introduced me, but for those who are not familiar with me, I am an author. I've written multiple books, including the Voices series for National Geographic Learning. I am a graphic facilitator, which means that I use visual thinking techniques and tools such as I'm going to show you in the classroom. There's much more to graphic facilitation than just drawing in the classroom. You don't actually need to know how to draw. You can use images as well. You can use, one of the things I love about Canva is that you can search online for images, sticky notes, etc. So you can do all of these things by using Canva Whiteboard and looking for icons too. I taught a lot of ESOL literacy learners at City of Glasgow, and some of those were literacy learners who had low level, had various skills at different levels, lots of mixed abilities. And many of those learners, I suspect, had undiagnosed neurodiversity, or such as dyslexia or ADHD, or some of them also had literacy needs that because they were learning Roman script for the first time as well. I'm an inclusive practitioner. It's become a bit of a passion for me. I listen to podcasts about inclusion and I'm involved in various Facebook groups, etc. Made it outdoors fanatic. I absolutely love being outside. If you can write in the chat a little bit about you, who are you, or what makes you tick? Then this activity is a great activity to do with your learners to start them off. This is a great visual thinking activity, and you can draw it, or as I said, you can look for icons, such as tools such as with Canva, etc. Okay, so to kick off, this tool which I created, how do you feel about inclusion? Or how do you feel about teaching inclusion? Oh, I seem to, why is that? Okay. So the question, how do you feel about teaching? How do you feel about teaching in an inclusive manner? Are you stuck at the bottom, bogged down with far too many weights, and you're flying, or maybe you are somewhere in the middle, and how do you feel? Let me know in the chat. How confident are you with teaching for inclusive practices? How do you about
I can see many of these
inclusive
people, they
teaching?
have written middle, beginners.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyone flying?
Yeah, some of the participants, they are in flying stage.
Okay, good. Well, hopefully anybody that's feeling like they are here at the moment will move to here later. And this is one visual thinking activity that I actually love doing with my students. And actually, at the beginning and end of every class. So it can be, how do you feel about this? And then at the end, check in, find out how they've progressed. You can also do it maybe at the beginning of a course and check in to find out how they've progressed as well. You can use this tool and technique, and it's very simple to draw a hot air balloon. If you don't believe you can draw, if you can just tell me, how do you feel about drawing? And then it's a circle, and then an M shape or two M shapes, and then a line, and then some other lines to connect it. And it can be quite messy. In class, your students, this is something that I spent time on by myself at home. But in class, my drawings are messy. In training, my drawings are messy. They're communicating. When we are born, our first communication happens through pictures and, well, not pictures, but visuals. We see our parents, we see people, we see actions, we see people mouthing about food, etc. So visuals are so important when it comes to making learning accessible. And we will forget about drawing being artistic. This is not about being artistic. It is about being communicative. So everyone can draw and feel the fear and draw anyway. So this is a classroom. This is some attributes that I think you will recognize. Say in the chat if you recognize these traits in your learners. I'm just going to zoom out so you don't. So forgetting homework. Does anyone's student forget homework? Anyone student fidget at all? So like move their hands, play with their pen, bite their pen lid. Please say in the chat if you recognize these traits. Excessive talking. Maybe you've got a student in class who talks and talks and talks and talks and doesn't let the other students have a chance. Difficulty staying on task. And then starts doing something else and then wants to try doing something else. Daydreaming, staring out the window. This was something that certainly in my maths class more than anything else, not paying attention. Anyone familiar with these traits? I'm going to have a very quick look. Yes, daydreaming too. Yeah, lots of distractors. Yeah. Okay, now I'd like you to think about what are the possible reasons for these behaviors? Why might somebody or some of your students have these behaviors? And they are very common behaviors for our students. So lack of interest, not interested, trauma, passive learning, hyperactive, neurodivergence. I'm so glad you've said all of these things because in many ways, the behaviors that we see in class are like an iceberg. We just see the tip of the iceberg. Our learners could have any of these. For example, trauma. I taught learners from refugee backgrounds for many years who had experienced all sorts of horrific things on their way to the UK and when they got here too. ADHD, so attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or difference. These are all traits of that. Stress, anxiety, just being bored in class, tiredness, and limited educational experience. And the thing is, when it comes to inclusive practices and teaching learners with ADHD or autism or dyslexia or much of the time, what's happening under this iceberg? A lot of the time, there's no way of finding out. It might not be our place to find out. Maybe learners don't want to know. There is a lot of stigma attached. Maybe it's not possible. But at the same time, we need classes inclusive in order to meet the learner's needs. So we suspect might be neurodiverse, but in many ways they might not be. They might have other things going on. And that's part of the process of being a teacher. So this is some others, and please say in the chat again if you recognize any of these. So, a learner that can feel overwhelmed and need to take time out, prefers a quiet classroom, a learner who easily offends others and says things maybe unintentionally, someone who has limited eye contact, someone who prefers working alone, people who are shy or and then maybe someone who stims and make repetitive noises. Does anyone recognize these traits as diversity? I'm wondering if you've noticed. Yeah, all of them. So actually, these could be traits of any learner, but they are also traits of learners with autism. And the autism spectrum could be from students who are completely non-verbal right up to functioning students who are very good at other activities, but not necessarily with working with others or um, uh, dealing with lots of things at the same time. They can maybe, like, if there's in a noisy classroom, they might get very distracted, overwhelmed. And the thing is, with our learners, the chances are learners with autism and autism that's very like, for example, learners who are non-verbal and have very extreme autism, the chances are you will already have much more uh, intense training on this. I think the majority are probably watching this are probably teaching learners who are in a class who may have autism or who are maybe towards the higher function. We need to be aware of those learners and of learners who are maybe just simply shy or not particularly sociable, and to make changes for them. And actually, things like, for example, prefers a quiet classroom. Who doesn't prefer a quiet classroom? I feel like lots of people, when you make a small change for one student, like for example, closing the window because there's something distracting, or closing the door because there's a lot of noise, that's instantly going to help a lot of the learners in the class. Small changes can help one student, but also many, many students. And I'm not going to talk too much about dyslexia. This was one of my students who had who was learning how to read and write in English for the first time, but also didn't have script in their first line. A lot of the time they would bring, before I started drawing in class, I would get homework that maybe looked like this without the images. So if you imagine it without the images. And I wouldn't know if they understood what a lorry was, or what a ring was, or glasses were. When I started drawing in class, my students started copying me, and I could see from their little drawings that it is a ring. I understood. Great concept check for me. And actually, when I first started using drawings and graphic facilitation in class, I was that annoying teacher that asked students to actively draw, and some of them just didn't want to. My students were adults. I think I would have a different experience if I was teaching children. My students were adults. Some of them had blockers that had been told they're not good at drawing. They didn't want to draw. That was fine. But actually, I stopped that and did some basically drew in class, but didn't ask them to draw with me instead. But what actually happened was things like this piece of homework that organically happened because the students felt comfortable. They knew that oh, it's a trolley, sorry, it's not a lorry. I read that wrong. So my trolley looked like this. Sorry, sorry, somebody's at the door. So, uh, so my trolley was very simple. And so they were very confident with following that. Apologies if you heard the extreme barking. My husband just came home. I'm looking after my friend's dogs. So yeah, you know if a learner has dyslexia, but including visuals in the classroom can make really support them. And yeah, but at art school, people who attend art school, it's thought to be 20% up to 75% of art schools. There's various different research on it and different studies and evidence, but I think that there is definitely more um, evidence, or there's more suggestions that people who are dyslexic are attracted to art. And actually, I think neurodiverse people are attracted a couple of weeks ago with
Emily?
120 sketchnoters. Are you there? You okay?
Yeah, we are having a big problem in listening your audio smoothly. So can you just
Hello?
adjust there? Yeah. We are a bit having problem in just hearing you. The voice is breaking. So can you just adjust there?
Sorry, okay. You want me to start again from...
No, it's fine. You continue from there.
Ah,
You
okay,
continue.
thank you. Okay. I can't remember where I was now. And we started talking about neurodiversity, and I was stunned. I think at least a quarter, if not more, were actually had various different neurodiversities that they knew about. Higher incidences of people who suspected they were probably neurodiverse. So very interesting to know that creative art and can be very helpful. Okay, so if you want to assess your learners for dyslexia, there's to know um, whether your learners are struggling with literacy because they haven't developed literacy skills in their first language, or because learning reading and writing is difficult in the first place. But there is an ELT Well support from this website that will assess. It's for multilingual learners who are people who are learning new languages. And if you would like an overall assessment, an overall summary of some of my teaching tips, I did a course with ELT Well last year, or last couple of years ago. She has a really great neurodiversity course. Sorry, back to ELT Well. I'm moving too much. I try not to move too much. I am, sorry. And one of the key learnings that I got from her course on neurodiversity was provide assessments in a way that supports learning and let students choose their method of assessment. So when she assessed us, the people on her course, when Anne Margaret Smith assessed us, the people on our course, she let us choose how we wanted to be assessed. So I created this sketch note of accessible teaching tips on my website and all over my social media. And it's basically a summary of some learners, and you need to play around with them because every student is different. You need to ask the learner, work with the learner. These are the overall tips: giving clear instructions, building confidence, creating a welcoming atmosphere. And what works for one learner might not work for another, but they're things for you to play around with. The other thing I want to say about this sketch note is giving students different ways to... Not fond of giving presentations, maybe find another way to assess them. If they are not fond of writing essays, who likes writing essays? Let them write a sketch note. And the beautiful thing about creating a sketch note or an infographic like this, and you can create infographics on Canva, is that AI is not very good at creating sketch notes and infographics at the moment. So it's a great way of assessing learners and knowing that the information... So yeah, try that and have a look for my accessible teaching tips sketch note. I don't have time to go through it all in massive detail. The protected characteristics are from the UK Equality Act, and they are 9 protected characteristics. Similar Equality Act for the UN, the UN. What is it? UN International Human Rights Legal Framework, which is similar, and the EU a similar one too. But they all basically contain similar things. So these are different characteristics that might lead to somebody being discriminated, but overall, there is legislation in place to make sure that they are all supported and receive equitable treatment. So they are tried to support those that need it most. So equity is about supporting people that need it most, whereas equality is about giving everyone the same work in that way, because some people need a bit more support than other people. So, for example, race, sexual orientation, gender, gender reassignment, religion, age, pregnancy and maternity, marriage and civil partnership, and disability. These are all the protected characteristics within the, and it's similar in other places. So, if you want to make sure, one way to make sure characteristics are represented is when you create materials and resources or lessons, which we all do, try to make sure that your images represent them. And it can often be the case in materials, less so now, I think. I think publishing has moved forward a lot. It's important that images represent the demographic of your learners, and the learners can be some accessible image banks. So nappy.co for photos of Black and brown people, the Age Positive Image Library. Often we will see pictures of older people who can be quite frail, for example, or being grandparents, but this is showing them to be out and about and doing many things. The Disability Inclusive Stock Photography, which shows disabled people positive light, and spectrum collection for people who are, for example, trans. And if you want some more on accessibility when it comes to, for example, font size, layout, there's this great it's a YouTube video with John Hughes. I took this screenshot ages ago. It's had more than 100. Yeah, it was from much longer ago than that. But check it out. It's very, very helpful. Okay, so on to the visual tools, which is what you all came for. So I'd like to just have a little bit of a fun activity now. So this was my whiteboard before I started doodling in the classroom. And this is my whiteboard now. So it's phonics, looking at oo sound words and ch sound words. If you were learning a language, which whiteboard would you like to see? The one on the left or the one on the right? And which one is the most accessible and inclusive? And well, let's start with which one is the most accessible? And which one is the most inclusive? And you'll notice that these pictures are very, very much is just a circle and then a rectangle and then a little line. The foot is question way that is art, but it does get the point across and it looks like a foot, and it can get a little bit of a laugh in class. The chair is basically a squashed H. The drawing alphabet is basically circles, squares, triangles, rectangles. Put them all together and you can make variations. So there's also this tool, which in fact, I'm going to take you over here first, down here. Okay. So when every learner is different and every learner has different strengths. And I watched this really great webinar. It wasn't a webinar, it was a podcast or YouTube video with Jamie Oliver, who's a famous chef. And he has dyslexia. And he was talking about how when he was younger, people would call him dumb. His teachers called him dumb. What a horrible thing to say to a student. simply because his spelling wasn't great. And here he is, he's written multiple recipe books. And one of the things that he said was placements. He's really good at cooking. He's really good at simplifying information, at making recipes very easy. Really great at that. But he said he's not good at organizing things. So he has people do those things for him. Obviously, he can because he has a business doing that and he's earned lots of money to do that. But the premise is play to your strengths and have students play to their strengths. So it's good to help them find out what they like, how they like to learn English. And this is an activity that I love to do with my students. And it actually surprised me because I thought a lot of the students would say that they loved learning from books. So I'm just going to draw them here, a rectangle and a couple of little lines. And these are what we call in the graphics facilitation world as containers. So big icons where you can put ideas. And I'll show you how you use those ideas in a minute. And I was expecting them to make apps, so like a mobile phone, and then you've just got a little bit of shimmer on it. Or a website, so a laptop is like a rectangle, and then a couple of diagonal lines, and then some crisscrosses. Homework can be represented by a notebook, which is a rectangle, little C shapes, or maybe some spirals. So draw these on your whiteboard, Canva whiteboard, for example, or on a worksheet, and then have students come to the whiteboard. And this is lovely multi-sensory learning. Get them to have, give them some post-it notes and have them add. If you don't have post-it notes, because post-it notes are quite expensive, get a pen, give every student a pen. Students love writing on the whiteboard and get them to add their ideas. You can actually do that in Canva if you're working that you can add electronically, and you can use it similar to a Google Doc where all students go in and you can share the link. So for example, I could share this with the public view link, and you can change the settings to who gets to see it. Anyway, have them share how they learn English and what they like to do in class, because give you a much more successful learning experience. And what I was surprised was so many of them learned by video, like reels on Instagram, for example. YouTube videos were super popular, movies, TV, and then classes themselves. These were the two places where students like to learn. So you can do this, another way to do this, or an extension task, is to have them think in a list, for example. So how do you learn? Do you learn through videos? Oops. Sorry, Canva actually makes all my drawings even drawing quickly too. Uh, so yes, through videos, maybe through. If you add a visual, then you obviously add an extra piece of understanding and you make it more interactive. So if you give students this template, the circle, the cake template, and you can get them to add their own ideas. And this is from 0 to 10, like the hot air balloon. Do you like learning with videos? Not really, or for example. And you can get them to fill this in for lots of different things. So for example, this is one for their life skills. Good thing about these visual thinking techniques and tools is you can use this same tool for multiple different things and different tasks and ideas for evaluation. So this study skills, so how confident are you with your study skills? I'm not confident at all. Do you like working as part of a team? No, I hate working in a team. Or yes, I absolutely love working in a team, for example. And you could also do it like a spider diagram. In the spider diagram, you could get them to color it in. So, no, I'm not very confident. Yeah, to yes, I'm super confident. Or you can use this to track progress, like, yes, I did my homework today, and I did it. I did my homework on Monday, I did my homework on Tuesday, I did my homework on Wednesday. James Clear in Atomic Habits talks about rewarding yourself for good habits and things that you do. So every time you tick something off your to-do list, it's really satisfying. But if you like a little progress tracker like this, that can be very satisfying too. Uh, so, oh yeah. The other key thing, can anyone spot what's wrong with this instruction? Can you let me know in the chat what's the problem here with this instruction? Okay, yes, exactly. It's too long. So learners, I am always, can you also say, I am always the student in class, even now in conferences, when somebody gives me um, instructions verbally, and I think it's maybe because I'm a visual thinker, I don't know I often don't know what the instruction was. I'll be the one that asks the person, what are we doing? But so if you break this down, it's very long. First open your books, then look at the photo. What can you see in the rest? Forgotten. So yeah, break it down into small tasks. And you can add on the whiteboard a very quick visual as well. So open your book at page 16, and that's like, do you remember when you were a kid and you drew birds? So two birds and then connect them. Open your books and then you can add page 16 if you like. And look at the photo. So the photo, very quick. And then the photo, if you like, maybe on your phone, for example. So photo can often be like a picture of a mountain. What can you see in the photo? So maybe they're having a conversation about what can they see in the photo. And then talk to your partner about what can you see in the photo. You can give all these instructions one by one and write them on the whiteboard so they know exactly what they're doing at any what you can see. And that can be just a little notepad. What do you think the people are thinking? So this one is a conversation, but it's about what people are thinking. Make a conversation between the two people. So that's the two thought bubbles again. And then role play in groups. Shapes for groups. And then you could have two groups, for example, because you're role playing, and then some multiple speech bubbles. Okay, and then, oh yeah, okay, and after that, we're going to research the topic on the computer, and research could be maybe a magnifying glass. You can have a rectangle and some little crisscrosses. Okay. So other ways to make learning more visual and make it stick, because visuals help you to remember things. Wames and Mead have research to show the drawing effect, and the drawing effect means that you're much to remember vocabulary if you doodle it as well. So create little vocabulary notebooks where the words. So the word is slow, and in my language, this one's Spanish, lenta or lento. And then the picture, draw a little picture of something slow, like a snail. And then a sentence to show that you have understood the meaning. And there's other things that if there's anything you can add onto it, please write that in the chat. Add your own ideas to share as well. The final thing that I would like to say is about notebooks. So I often found that my students, especially learners who hadn't developed their study skills, I always found that actually taking the whiteboard and turning it into a notebook would me to share with them how to lay out their notebook. So for example, today was Emily and it's simple, for example, and then you can have a nice picture of somebody looking backwards to look at the past. I'll draw that a little bit tidier because, so yeah, just some lines going backwards, but backwards irregular timeline. Sorry, I totally moved the whiteboard there. And then just looking back, you can maybe add some mountains in the background too. Sorry, I've made that very, very messy, but it's okay. You understand the meaning. That's the point. It's not about art. So yeah, that can be looking backwards. And that just helps them to lay out the notebook exactly correctly. My socials have, these are some commissions from the British Council on some sketch notes that I created on Universal Design for Learning by Maria Jose Galeno Valdez. She did a brilliant webinar on that, which you can find online. And I've got this sketch note that I created with the all of these were webinars that I have visually recorded. So Katie, you can find them all online, I'm pretty sure. There's Sarah Smith and Claire Steele, Saya Steele, it should be, sorry. That's an old version. Supporting students who have ADHD, and Ozturk and Tuba Kizilkan on divergence and neurodiversity, and Creative Classroom by Marie Delaney. So I recommend checking out all of those webinars, and you'll find these sketch notes on Instagram at Emily Bryson ELT or on my website, emilybrysonelt.com. And further reading, and these are the image banks. So that we talked about, nappy.co, gender spectrum, disability, age without limits, my website with all my sketch notes, this book, Fantastic Visual Thinking by Temple Grandin. She has autism and she explored why she fascinating hearing about all her experiences and all her research, and ELT will obviously as well for a neurodiversity course and lots of content on supporting learners with different needs. So there you are. It's time for questions.
All right. So thank you, Emily, for such a wonderful presentation. I really like the way you said the practical tools and creative techniques that will help our educators to reach the learners, right? And
I hope so.
I can see a lot of, yeah, yeah, it was really wonderful. And I can find a lot of questions in the chat, as well as even our moderators, they are just sending me a lot of questions. So can we go through them? Emily, can we go through them now?
Yeah, where are the questions? Or are
Okay.
they in the chat somewhere? Where do I see
No,
the
no,
questions?
I'll let you know. So I
Oh,
have
okay.
got a question, right, right. Even from your session, it's very good to know about different, creative tools, Canva drawing, spider diagram, and I could also know about the use of whiteboard as well as with good illustrations. Really, they are very wonderful, and even our participants, they are very eager to know. Most of them, they are asking about how we can just make the classroom more interactive. So I think the power of visualization is great. So can you just share how we can just make the visual classroom more interactive?
More interactive. Well, I think the visuals themselves. So, for example, having that container,
Mm-hmm.
like the container activity that I showed you with the, maybe I'll just zoom out and show it to you again. Um, this one, like for example, this is super interactive because
Mm-hmm.
uh, students are they can actually create their own and then
Mm-hmm.
draw their own in their notebooks, and
Mm-hmm.
then the round and
Mm-hmm.
sharing their post-it notes, and then at the end they can actually write up like to learn English. Maybe they could sketchnote it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they could do a
Mm-hmm.
presentation on it. Maybe they could write a text about it and then, or write different social media comments about it. And then they have to go around the classroom and read those comments and then post
Mm-hmm.
post-it notes on to
Mm-hmm.
respond to other people's comments
Mm-hmm.
too. So lots of different ways. I feel like all of these activities,
Mm-hmm.
draw them big, then you're immediately getting students to stand up. And if you have multiple whiteboards or big whiteboard space, then you could have
Mm-hmm.
these tools, multiple versions of these tools, so that they're using them at their own
Mm-hmm.
time and also have uh, personal versions of
Yeah.
them in their notebooks
Mm-hmm.
too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So even yeah, that's very true. And even I have got the question from Q&A, like it's like that. Do we have to make children familiarize with the symbols, or will they learn with the time? What do you say?
Symbols. I feel like a
Yeah,
lot of the
about symbols.
symbols are, I feel like a lot of the symbols are instantly recognizable,
Mm-hmm.
actually
Oh,
based
okay.
on icons.
Mm-hmm.
So like for example, if I type book
Mm-hmm.
into Canva, all of
Mm-hmm.
these and then icons. So icons are much simpler to copy. And icons, like
Mm-hmm.
if you're walking around in an airport, the
Mm-hmm.
baggage claim area, it's got like you can probably picture what the baggage claim area icon looks like and what
Mm-hmm.
for example, like
Mm-hmm.
the audio icon in Zoom
Mm-hmm.
looks probably a bit like, oh, it doesn't look like that at all.
Mm-hmm.
It looks a bit like this one. It looks a bit like the third
Mm-hmm.
one from the left, from on the right. Can you see these? I'm showing you. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, yeah, that's a good question about kids knowing the icons. I feel like, because a lot of my have already developed their visual
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
literacy
Great.
for things like icons, for example. And I guess
Mm-hmm.
with children, younger learners, if they haven't been
Mm-hmm.
familiar with whiteboards and computers and
Mm-hmm.
etc., they might not know what an audio icon is. I'd be quite
Mm-hmm.
intrigued to know that. Please let me know
Mm-hmm.
in the chat about your
Mm-hmm.
thoughts on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the participant has got the answer. So I can also go to another question, like there are different approaches for different high level students, right? But Iram, he has mentioned that these shape-based drawings, they are more helpful for the students for the junior level. So can you suggest some kind of approach for higher level students so that they can also show their creativity, they can also engage well? So can you give them some
So
ideas, Emily? Mm-hmm.
people often say these drawings are for children. I taught
Mm-hmm.
adults. I have only ever used these with adults. I just went to a
Okay.
sketchnoting conference 2 weeks ago where
Mhm,
we were all adults. And
mhm,
many of the people that were at that conference use visuals and
mhm,
visual thinking in core things with engineers, with
mhm,
design thinkers.
mhm,
The lab now was drawn by somebody. The room that you were living in was drawn by somebody.
mhm,
Doodles are not just for children. Adults also like
mhm,
to have joyful things in their lives.
mhm,
All of these activities that I've shown you, I have used them with higher level learners and with lower level learners. And the
Okay.
beauty of them, because there's no
Mm-hmm.
words in them. So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, okay, one word, you can use this with
Mm-hmm.
beginners. You can use it with advanced level students.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you'll
Mm-hmm.
get more emergent language and more
Mm-hmm.
rich emergent language with the advanced level learners than you will with
Mm-hmm.
the basic level learners. But it's a great way of meeting all the levels. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So this can be used, I think. So even I have another question by Salim. So he has asked for some classroom management strategies, that best works with when using the visual techniques. So do you just suggest any type of classroom management strategies while we are using visual techniques?
Hmm, not really sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, well, naturally, but yeah, I guess things like, for example, breaking down all the instructions
Mm-hmm.
into
Right.
like one step at a time. And actually, someone from the British Council recommended that you should have one verb per instruction.
Mm-hmm.
So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, look at the photo, open your books,
Mm-hmm.
what can you see, and talk to your partner. So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
keeping instructions as simple as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, is very
That's wonderful. So my question is, I just want to know, like, every teacher may not be good like you in sketching, drawing, right? So I just want to know how can teachers with limited artistic skills they can implement visual thinking effectively? Mm-hmm.
okay. So, one of the
Mm-hmm.
things I have these resources, all the I have
Mm-hmm.
these tools available to
Mm-hmm.
download.
Mm-hmm.
This one is available to download on my website. I've got the hot
Mm-hmm.
air balloon one is also available to download on my website. That
Mm-hmm.
one. And on my Teachers Pay Teachers page.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's one way of doing it. You can get the downloadable template, which
Mm-hmm.
for you. I have some courses as well that you can
Mm-hmm.
learn how to doodle yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The
Right.
practice,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
practice, and yeah, you could copy the icons, have a look back through this
Mm-hmm.
webinar, and practice the drawings. My drawings in
Mm-hmm.
this webinar are particularly messy and fast. They
Mm-hmm.
are not the kind of drawings that I would then end up creating. These are much
Mm-hmm.
more deliberate, tidier versions.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
there's live drawing for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
There's, there's different
Yeah.
ways to use drawings in communication. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, feel
Right.
the fear and draw anyway, because everyone can draw, and it's not about art.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's great. And I think our participants, they are getting the answers from you. So I do have there are a lot of questions, Emily, in the board here. And Kiran Navid, what he has mentioned is that, using the visual strategy, it is somehow very time consuming. Do you agree with that one?
Oh, sorry, you broke up a little bit. Can you ask that one more time?
Uh, Yeah, what Kiran has said that using visual strategy is somehow it consume a lot of time. Do you agree with that one?
I think it saves time because
Uh-huh.
once you
Okay.
know that you can draw a hot air balloon in the classroom
Mm-hmm.
and get them to
Mm-hmm.
think about where they are feeling, how they're feeling,
Mm-hmm.
Kate,
Right,
and
right.
have them evaluate it, that's your lesson
Mm-hmm.
planned already.
Mm-hmm.
Once you know that you can draw these containers anytime,
Mm-hmm.
anywhere, you have them
Mm-hmm.
in a virtual toolkit in your brain and in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
You don't
Mm-hmm.
need to prepare as much. It's kind of,
Oh,
I think, in a lot of ways, it's like dog with a visual
okay.
twist in some ways.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So it might be like I can conclude in that way that if we are familiarized with such visual strategies, then it is time saving, right? But for
Yeah,
the new ones, it might be very time consuming, that means.
yeah. I mean, it takes some
Mm-hmm.
practice, but I feel like
Mm-hmm.
everybody can draw this
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
class, and it can be messy. It doesn't need to be super, super,
Mhm.
very messy. I'm doing it
Exactly.
far too fast. But yeah,
And also the one thing is that like every classroom or every place, they are not with the full resources, right? So can you suggest some simple visual thinking tools? Because there are unlimited visual thinking tools and the educator might be confused which one to use. So especially for using for the simple and for the initial classroom, can you suggest some simple visual thinking tools?
for
It
the
was the
simple
question
class,
by
for the
Salim.
box.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, for the it especially for the limited resources classroom, very simple because we cannot go in the complex one, right?
Uh-huh.
So the classroom which has very limited resources, for those places we can use the simple one. So can you just suggest some of the simple visual thinking tools for such type of classes?
Okay. So this
Mm,
the spider's web and
mm,
the other one that I
mm,
really love, and it's kind of similar in a way to the hot air balloon because it's one for
mm,
helping students
mm,
is, sorry, there's a bit of give with it.
mm,
Okay, is to think about a weather.
mm,
So let's start actually. I'll start with the sun. So you've got sunshine on over here, and then you've
mm,
got cloud over
mm,
here with some sun, and then
mm,
regular cloud, and then a dark cloud, another dark cloud. But
mm,
this dark cloud has lots of rain and
mm,
it has a lightning bolt as well. Like this is horrible stormy
mm,
weather happening over
mm,
here. And this is like a
mm,
little bit of rain. So in many ways to have students think
mm,
about how confident are they? Like, so for example, if they're doing a certain grammar point in class, oh, I'm not very confident at all. Or,
mm,
yeah, I'm a sunshine. I love present perfect. Or
mm,
you can have them think about how are you feeling today? Because students,
mm,
especially students who've experienced trauma when they come into the classroom, are
mm,
they feeling like sunny? Are they feeling like rain clouds?
mm,
Hopefully, during them
mm,
turn into sunny feelings. Um, you can use this in different ways as well. You can have students think about, okay, I understood that. So I'm a
mm.
sunshine. Oh, teacher, I didn't understand this at all. Can you explain it again? I'm a
Mm.
storm cloud. So there's lots of visual metaphors that you can use with your
Right,
student
right.
to
Mm,
have them think. And again, you could use that like with emojis. Like actually in the
exactly.
chat, can you just say,
Mm,
using an emoji, which emoji are you just now? Are you a sunshine? Are you a cloud? Are
mm,
you a storm cloud? Please write in the chat how you're feeling.
mm. Yeah, the
Yeah, but I've got
participants, they are just,
lots and lots. I could talk all day about lots of simple.
they are sunshine, sunshine.
Yeah,
Even I
good to
can
see
say
lots of
cloudy
sunshines.
sunshine.
Yeah.
Yeah, sunshine, sunshine, cloudy sunshine. Mm.
Oh,
Even
somebody's got
lot of suns are
lots of
there.
sunshines. Oh, somebody's cloudy and rainy. That's okay.
Rainy.
Hopefully we can change that.
Okay. Yeah, very interactive one. Yeah, it's very true that, as you said, that it is very effective for students to engage in. But how about the students with auditory or kinesthetic, some, that verbal intelligence at the same time? There might be the students with suffering from such kinds of issues. So what might be for them?
Okay. For auditory, you can have you can describe it to them, or have
Mm-hmm.
other students describe it to them. Like for example, you've
Mm-hmm.
got a sunshine on the right, and we for kinesthetic,
Mm-hmm.
not entirely like I feel like I've not really encountered many that have had
Mm-hmm.
kinesthetic barriers in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I would need to ponder more on that. If anyone has any ideas on that, please
Mm-hmm.
add it in the
Mm-hmm.
chat.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, it's still the sunshine they are coming, and there are even a
Yeah.
lot of questions ongoing, but I'm very sorry that we cannot pick up all the questions because of limited time.
Yeah.
So moving
But
on
yeah,
to
yeah.
the
Someone's just said interacting on your phone is
mm,
kinesthetic. Yes, that's a good point. And
mhm,
there are ways that you can interact. I can't share this Canva presentation with you with 1,000 people
mm,
because it would be imagine sharing a people
okay,
and
yeah,
have them
I
all
guess that.
interact with it at the same
Mhm.
time. But you can have students log in to the same Canva presentation.
Exactly, exactly. And
It
thank you
can be really
again,
good
Emily,
fun.
for taking the time. Yes, thank you again. I want to thank again for just taking the time to respond to the questions with such clarity and insights. And thank you all the participants for also joining us today. Your presence, your curiosity and engagement has made this session very truly meaningful. And I guess that these tools would be adapted in your real classroom. Emily, can I ask you to just, I want to share the screen. Can we stop sharing? I just want to give the QR code and feedback link to our audience. So can you just
Yes.
stop?
Oh, yep. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So thank you. So now I just want to go quickly to the QR code that our participants, they are very interested to have the feedback, to fill the feedback form. So you can find the QR code here. So please find the feedback link or scan this code. And as soon as you submit this feedback link, you will get the link to download the certificate and follow the instruction which is mentioned in the chat. And please be mindful that the certificate can be edited only in the computer or laptop. For your kind information, I just also want to share you that the PDF of handout will be available by 24th July on our webpage. And similarly, even I just want to remind everybody that even the South Asia Teaching English online conference is continued tomorrow as well. And we have 3 line of session you can see in the screen. And tomorrow's theme is using 21st century skills. Please join the link by the same Zoom link that you have received in confirmation email while you were registering to attend any of the webinar in the conference. So I just want to end the webinar for today. Everyone have a great day, have a great evening, and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.